The International Labour Organization says that austerity is the cause, and now we're in a new global jobs crisis. With Europe caught in the so-called austerity trap, things are getting worse. Raymond Torres is the head of the ILO's International Institute for Labour Studies. Mr. Torres, read the report, or I read the summary of the report. You along with other organisations, you're dancing around the fundamental point that you believe austerity is now the problem.
In fact, there are two problems. One is the pace of austerity. It's not so much the fact that countries have to reduce budget deficits. Of course, when budget deficits reach 10% of GDP, 11% of GDP, they have to be reduced. It is the pace of the reduction on the one hand. And secondly, it is the fact that the reduction in public deficit, which is sometimes too aggressive, is not accompanied by a growth strategy, by measures to promote growth and promote jobs. I think that's the problem.
Isn't the reality, though, the measures to promote growth and to promote job creation will, in the short term, worsen the deficit situation? That's the catch-22.
It is the catch-22, and to some extent, some of the measures to promote growth and jobs will cost something. But 2 points. First of all, some of these measures are not so costly to the public purse. For example, policies to keep job seekers in the labor market, or to retrain them so that when there is growth, they will be available for that new growth. Or some public investments are not necessarily so expensive, and they can be funded from additional revenue if need be. That's the first point. The second point is that other measures are not expensive at all to the public purse. In fact, they are very cheap. For example, avoiding that wages continue to be reduced in a number of countries that don't need lower wages.
Right,
for example, in Spain.
Well, I just want to pause that. Well, you raised the question of Spain. Forgive me, but you raised the question of Spain. How afraid are you that the scenario in places like Spain is so bad, with so little prospects of hope and optimism, that we do end up with civil distress and civil dispute?
Our indicators suggest that for a majority of advanced economies, including European countries, the risk of social unrest is growing. It's growing very fast, and it's growing as a result of youth unemployment, and as a result of perceptions that the strategies lack a vision. It's more austerity, always more austerity. It's very unclear what will happen next. So I think that's a serious issue. And the other point is that unless something is done in those countries that are suffering now, neighboring countries themselves will fall into this trap, into the austerity trap. Because if Spain, of course, continues into recession, it will affect German banks and therefore the German economy.
Mr. Torres, we'll talk more about this in the future. We thank you for joining us and putting the point of view from the ILO. Many thanks indeed for joining us. Now, Spanish stocks greeted